where we keep you connected with what's happening with the resident music masters, and it gives me pleasure to welcome one of those masters to the microphone tonight, Destiny Muhammad, a harpist from the hood. Destiny's got quite a few things coming up, but the one thing we want to let you know about is happening this Sunday. It's Destiny's Jazz Trio. And how you doing tonight, first off? How you doing, Destiny?
I'm really good, Brother Greg. How you doing?
I'm good. Glad to have you in again.
Thank you.
Now, this event we're talking about coming up this Sunday is one of the house concerts, and lately there have been a lot of those popping up. You as a performer, yes, you know, seeking out places to play, looking for places to get booked, how have these house concerts been beneficial for you?
The house concerts are really a godsend when the clubs are asking folks to literally lay down their life some time for a little or no money, and then the guests that come in have to do a 2-drink minimum. The house concert is a bit more intimate and friendly, where it's almost communal, where folks come in and they bring potluck food, and there might be a beverage or two, but no one's pressured into that. Generally, at least 95% of the funds that are raised go to the artists that are playing, and you get to have this one-on-one with the audience, and sometimes it can be a call and response. It's really intimate and friendly, and a lot of them are popping up here on the West Coast.
Now, for this concert, this is being put on by Avanova Music, and our listeners can find out more by giving them a call at 510-459-6072.
Yes.
For this concert, you're going to be in a trio setting. Now,
absolutely.
I've seen you many different ways, solo, with large bands, with a string trio. Tell us about the group that you're going to be featured with this Sunday.
Well, this Sunday is going to be myself, a bass player and a drummer. Bass player is going to be Alex Baum on upright bass, and Jack Dorsey on trap drums. And for me, it's my way of revisiting the idea of the Dorothy Ashby Jazz Trio.
Right.
And Dorothy Ashby was this prolific jazz harpist who really came out of Detroit with this whole movement of folks out of Detroit, and just hit the West Coast by storm with this musical idea of harp as a jazz instrument. She wasn't the first, but she definitely made folks recognize.
Now, you say she wasn't the first, and seeing a jazz harpist these days is still a rarity. So during the time that Dorothy Ashby was doing it, it had to have been extremely rare.
It was a gentleman named Casper Reardon that preceded her, and a woman named Adele, whose last name is not coming to mind right now, but these were two folks who were doing jazz. Dorothy came with this whole swing attitude out of Detroit, and Orrin Keepnews, who is a Bay Area resident who actually produced Miles Davis and John Coltrane, he referred to Dorothy Ashby as Wes Montgomery on harp.
Talk about the harp as a jazz instrument. Now, you started learning, when you learned harp, you weren't learning jazz.
No.
What was it that you were into first as a harp musician?
As a harp musician, when I first started playing, the things that I was introduced to at first was Celtic music. So I started out learning jigs and reels on my instrument, for those who are familiar with that, and then as well as classical music. So primarily European classical music was the focus, with the Celtic music on top of that. But the idea of jazz coming to mind was when I first heard Dorothy Ashby's CD, The Jazz Harpist. And I was like, wow, listen at that. And that's when I said, that's where I'm going.
Now, what is it about harp that makes it such a rarity in jazz? I mean, aside from the size of it, I know that's a hard instrument to get from gig to gig, but aside from that, what is it that makes that instrument a rarity in the world of jazz?
I think part of the rarity is what it takes in order to create the tonalities that perhaps a sax player or a piano can do. These diminished chords and some of the other chords that are done on those instruments makes it a rarity. That's one. I think two is that the whole focus of it, one, being considered primarily a female instrument, which is not, and considered primarily only in European classical settings. That's the second thing right there, is that there's still that predisposition to believe that that's what it can do, and that jazz would be completely out of this realm.
But even these days, I mean, it's been shown, as you mentioned, Dorothy Ashby, and now there's yourself, there's Carol Robbins, there are a few other harp players who play jazz.
Yes.
So seeing that there are some, do you see that there may be growth towards more harp players?
I think there's growth towards more. I think some of us are still trying to, even the harp is still trying to put their mind around the idea of the instrument as a jazz instrument. And then, you know, literally having to just say, I'm not going to wait to be discovered as a jazz instrumentalist. I'm just going to do it myself and show you. My mother used to say, I can show you better than I can tell you. Mm-hmm. And literally for myself, it's what I'm doing, where I bring this idea with bass player and drummer, and we play jazz standards. We first introduce folks and let them hear Embraceable You or Funny Valentine or something of that nature on harp as a jazz standard, if you will. That Dare on harp, Stolen Moments on harp with the rhythm section, and in original pieces as well.
That's the voice of our guest tonight, Destiny Muhammad, the harpist from the hood. Destiny and her trio will be in action this Sunday at a special house concert put on by the folks of Avanova Music. You can find out more information about that and how you can be there by calling 510-459-6072. The number again is 510-459-6072. Destiny Muhammad, our guest tonight, and as mentioned, she'll be with her trio. You know, one of the folks that, since I have you here, yeah, that I feel like we have to pay honor and tribute to is Brother Khalil Shaheed.
Yes.
You know, I know with a lot of the functions of Oaktown Jazz workshops and some of the other things that Khalil was involved in, there were times when he'd call upon you, as Khalil would call upon, you know, so many musicians around here to contribute to what he was trying to do, bring music to youth and to our neighborhoods.
Absolutely.
Give us your thoughts and reflections on Khalil.
Ooh, so many. I know my time is brief. So Khalil saw me playing at a farmer's market, a Jack London farmer's market, and invited me to come and play at Bluesville for a jam session. And that was really the beginning of a 15-year friendship with this brother. He was the first to introduce me to the jazz stage. He could hear what I was trying to say jazz-wise. Then he went on to invite me to come and to study jazz with him in the Oaktown Jazz Workshop. I literally was his oldest student. And in between that time, Khalil would put on shows. He did one called The Road at the Asian Pacific complex downtown Oakland. And he put on a symposium called The Road, and he did a piece that he referred to as ghetto chamber music. And it was he and I doing Stevie Wonder's You and I. So it was a French horn and harp doing a rendition on that. And then he went on to invite me to do a number of things because he could hear what I was trying to say, but I didn't have the jazz language. And he assisted me in developing the language that I'm still developing at this point, even as he stepped off to become an ancestor. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Khalil is definitely one of our true community heroes.
Absolutely.
And it's good to be able to share those great thoughts and memories of Khalil Shaheed. And community is what we're all about here at KPFA, whether it's a local community or our worldwide community. We're about bringing you the news and events and exposing and shining light on what's going on around our community, especially here on Transitions on Traditions, which comes your way each and every Monday night. And that's why we're asking for your calls of support tonight. Become a member. Call 510-848-5732. That's 510-848-5732 or 1-800-439-5732. 1-800-439-5732 or online at www.kpfa.org. What else are you working on, Destiny?
Wow, so I have a neo-soul project that I literally just got hijacked into this incredible, and I can't really say too much about it, but just you will be hearing the voice of Destiny Muhammad on harp and Andrea Carter on vocals, and that's going to be an incredible project coming up very soon. You'll have an opportunity to hear that. My jazz trio is springing off really a lot, so I'll be playing at a variety of places. I just got the word I'll be doing the Oakland Indie Awards with my jazz trio, Yerba Buena Gardens with Afro Solo, and I have a concert coming up in November, the 50-20 in 2012 concert.
All right, honest. And for folks who want to keep in touch with you and find out what more is going on with Destiny Muhammad?
You can go to DestinyMuhammadJazzTrio.blogspot.com, DestinyMuhammad.com, and we can meet and greet on Facebook and Twitter at Destiny Muhammad, Destiny the Harpist, and the Sound Sculptress.
And again, you can catch Destiny in action along with her trio this Sunday, May 20th, starting at 4 p.m. at a special house concert put on by the folks of Avanova Music. Give a call to 510-459-6072. That's 510-459-6072 for more information. Destiny, I want to thank you for taking the time out to stop by, share a few words with us tonight, and keeping us up on what's happening with you.
Well, thank you so much, and y'all, don't be stingy. You help KPFA to continue to be on the air. Bring those donations in. They've got great gifts.
That's right. The number is 510-848-5732. That's 510-848-5732, or 1-800-439-5732, 1-800-439-5732, or www.kpfa.org. This is one of those great gifts that Destiny was talking about from Greg Reporter.